Many beginner and novice pool players do not recognize the fact that breaking and running in 9-ball is not always possible, and offensive play should not always be the first option considered. Even professional players have to develop their safety playing skills in order to be competitive. You might be surprised to learn that professionals only break and run between 22 and 27% of the time. Johnny Archer and Earl Strickland, two of 9-ball's all-time greatest players, and who have amassed multiple World and U.S. Open championships, only broke and ran 33% of the time at the height of their careers. Pool is not always about running out. It's about managing percentages. With this fact in mind, it is easy to recognize the necessity of developing a defensive capability. With good recognition and execution of safety play, you can turn a low percentage to impossible situation into an easy run-out. Safety play is defined as executing a legal shot that leaves your opponent with a difficult, low percentage shot, or forcing your opponent to make a legal hit by use of a kick shot as shown in this diagram. The more balls that are on the table, the more options you have to force a kick shot. There are several scenarios where you should consider playing a safety. First, when you do not have a clear shot at the object ball, where you have a difficult or low percentage shot, for example a bank shot or an extremely thin cut shot. Safety play should also be considered when you have a shot on the object ball, but gaining position on the next ball is unlikely. This position is an example of both situations. You should also consider playing safe if there is a cluster that will not allow you to run the table. You should always create situations where your opponent is forced to make a low percentage shot and not you. You should also play safe if you see an opportunity to force your opponent to commit 3 consecutive fouls. In many leagues and tournaments, if a player commits 3 fouls in succession, it is a loss of game. Here is an example of a table layout that would allow you to 3-foul your opponent. Finally, you should consider safety play in moving the 9-ball for an easy combination. The optimal outcome from playing a safety is snookering your opponent and forcing him to make a multiple rail kick that has a very small chance of being successful. In most cases, you want your opponent to have to make at least a 1-rail kick as shown in this diagram. An even stronger safety is where your opponent has to execute a 2-rail kick as shown in this diagram. At the very least, you want your opponent to have to execute a low percentage shot or a shot where position is difficult to gain. Having the knowledge to recognize a safety and actually having the ability to execute the safety are two distinctly different things. When choosing a safety, you have to have an accurate accounting of your own ability level. If a safety is available and you have as small a chance of executing the safety as you would making an offensive shot, you would be better served to try for the offensive shot. It is entirely possible that a person can be a skilled player who has the ability to run out, but lacks the ability to play consistent safeties. This happens because in running balls, less attention has to be paid to the speed of the object ball. To be an effective safety player, you must develop speed control of both balls. As in the development of other skills in pool, you should employ drill-based practice to develop your safety skills. This can be done by placing an object ball on the table in this position and attempting to place the cue ball and the object ball on predetermined targets as shown in this diagram. Every time you hit the ball, you should pay close attention to the amount of speed, thickness of hit, and follow or draw that you are using to execute the shot. You should experiment with placing the cue ball and the object ball on different parts of the table and choosing different targets for the balls to land on in order to develop a greater feel for speed control. A good reference point by which you can develop speed control is to recognize the fact that if you use a half ball hit, the cue ball and the object ball will travel equal distances. The more you develop the ability to play safe, the more you should consider playing safe. There is a difference between showing off and winning. Playing a safety may not look pretty or impress your friends, but if safety shots are played correctly, your opponent will be scratching his head and you will come out on top more often than not.